Joining me now, Democratic Congresswoman Karen Bass of California. She's chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Madam Chairman, thank you, first of all, for being with us.
Thanks for having me on.
What is the reaction to the bill by the Congressional Black Caucus? Certainly, I know you were at the table fighting to make sure that what was the original proposed bill, which seemed to be corporate-friendly, turned as much as it has. What's the reaction to you now as the bill, as it has now been signed after the fighting that Speaker Pelosi, you and others did?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. And I think that the changes in the bill, exactly as she described what was originally proposed, this is why it's great we have two senators from the Congressional Black Caucus. Senator Harris and Senator Booker were over there fighting for all of our priorities. And granted, there is much more to do. I am very happy that the Congressional Black Caucus, many of our priorities were included in the bill. Funding for HBCUs, funding for Pell Grants, Head Start, child care, resources for prisons. However, we definitely wanted to see mandatory testing, which was not provided.
Right.
But we know we have much more to do. Small businesses, Minority Business Development Agency. So there's a lot of resources that are there. But Rev, you know that once the bill is passed, once the bill is signed, now we have to make sure that our communities know what's there, and then we have to help them access what's there. But at the same time, we have to get ready for the next round. But when the next round happens, and I know that it will, I don't know exactly how long it will be, but we need to be organized. We need to be organized nationally, and we need to fight for our priorities in the same way that Boeing and all of the other corporations do. We might not have billions of dollars, but we do have millions of people, and we need to make sure that our voices are heard.
Now, the statement made late today that the White House is downplaying the effect of the Inspector General and Congress having some kind of oversight over how the monies that will go to industry and corporations are. And many of us remember in the 2008 bailout, it seemed like the top was fine, but those in the middle and the bottom did not get the same kind of recovery. Are you concerned about the White House trying to play a different tune now about the role that you all put in this bill about an Inspector General and Congress examining all of the monies that will go to industry and major corporations?
Well, I'm concerned because the last 3.5 years, we've had a president that has no respect for the rule of law. So you know that it was a big fight that the Democrats fought for and won, was to even have the Inspector General. You might have heard the president at one of his press conferences a few days ago where he said, Inspector General, there doesn't need to be any oversight. I can provide the oversight. One of the last fights over the bill was to make sure that the money didn't go to Mar-a-Lago and all of his other failing resorts and hotels. So, of course, I'm concerned about him intervening, but that's because, in general, he has shown us over the last 3.5 years that he has no regard for the rule of law.
Isn't this an opportunity when we see the president's message, particularly to black Americans, has been unemployment among blacks are lower than ever, and now you have the unemployment rate for everybody going through the roof? Are you concerned that as it goes through the roof, it still goes disproportionately for blacks and others of color? Because even in the good unemployment days, which was only a couple of weeks ago, we were still doubly unemployed, the whites, and we are in the areas that are most impacted by this pandemic in terms of the ones that work in the sanitation departments and other areas. Don't you see this as an opportunity that they can rebuild the economy in an equal way and correct some of the imbalance that has historically been there?
Yes, but however, if that happens, it's going to happen because of grassroots pressure. It's certainly not going to happen from anything that the administration is concerned about. All he's interested in is peeling off 2 to 3% of the black male vote so that he gets reelected. But I must say that anytime you're dealing with a crisis like this, you know, in a way, all of these bills are spaghetti on the wall in the sense that it's going to take us a while to even understand how this crisis is impacting our communities. And so one of the things that I think needs to happen now is that all of the historic activists in our community, the civil rights activists, the other grassroots activists, we need to come together and we need to assess what is happening on the ground in our communities so that the next time we pull a bill together, it's not just imagining how things are going to happen, but it's actually real life stories. And so I'm hoping that you'll join us and that you'll help through your show gather some of the anecdotal stories so that the next time we put a package together, we'll know that this part of the unemployment insurance didn't work. This part of giving the check out didn't work. I'm sure we're going to need another check to give to folks, but we need to make sure that the checks that are going out now actually hit the people in our community. Maybe they didn't apply for taxes and don't realize that they can actually apply for taxes and get their check. So we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and sign me up. I'm with that. You mentioned about those incarcerated. You raised that issue about the testing, and some of us also joined in. I even called President Trump about it and talked to him about it. The testing of incarcerated, the testing of the homeless, and if they can't do it from a humanitarian point of view, it is bad for the health of everybody because homeless people sleep in the streets in Beverly Hills like they do in South Central and can infect people. Where do we go with pushing forward on the testing of the homeless and the incarcerated, if for no other reason than to protect the health of everybody?
Well, absolutely, and we certainly are going to be doing a lot of innovative things in California in regard to that. You know, in Los Angeles County, on any given night, we have over 50,000 people that are sleeping outside. But let me just talk about the incarcerated population for a minute. Number one, there can obviously be no social distancing in a prison.
Right.
People, because all of our prisons are overcrowded. So I think there needs to be mandatory testing, but I also think there needs to be the release of inmates. Why would you incarcerate pregnant women right now? You know, why would you incarcerate children that haven't been convicted of a violent crime? I mean, I can raise the question as to why you incarcerate children generally, but right now thinking about this crisis. So we need to be releasing people, but they need to be tested because obviously if people are infected, they need to be treated and dealt with and not just released. But we do need to think about that. This is an opportunity to try to address some of the overcrowding and some of the unnecessary incarceration.
All right, California Congresswoman, Chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Karen Bass, thank you for being with us.